Welcome to Global Morning.
The death toll from flooding.
Most time our politicians just bring in policies too, for sure.
Incidentally, we have several more stories.
The legislature was carefully crafted to
22.2% inflation rates as of April this year. What does that say about where we are as a country?
I think Nigeria has resorted to being resilient.
Before you call a police station, before they even leave, they'll take permission from
I don't think there's really anything on ground to improve.
the struggle, the ASIS strike.
Minister of Education volunteered and said, give me 2 weeks.
It was a lie. The president never gave me any deadline.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us this morning on Global Television. It's always a delight, no doubt about that. Second working day of the week. I'm Uyag Mofwe. We welcome you to Global Morning. And Jumai Manson has never been more excited about being on the program because we just form an unbeatable team to bring you all of the big stories on the program and then stretch that conversation to a point where you understand through the noise.
Through the noise?
Yes.
All right, good morning. How are you doing today?
I'm staying robust and grateful.
Robust and grateful.
Yeah.
All right, to each and every one of you out there, good morning. He has already introduced me. I am Jumai Manson. It's great to be here. It's the second working day of the week, and I always call it the Take Back Tuesday. Whatever you did not accomplish on Monday, hey, Tuesday gives you another chance to do all that you need to do today. Hopefully, fingers crossed, everything is going to be fine.
It has to. I'm good. I think it's about the mindset and the thought pattern that you also bring into your day, right?
True.
And things like that. I was just talking to somebody about words of affirmation this last weekend, you know, and how that it can kick some sort of signals into your brain, and those signals can also guide your actions and inactions as it were, and then help you to achieve as much success for that as possible. But the goal must always be that you want to be a better person each day. There's nothing like perfection, so let's take our eyes off that.
Yes,
and
no one is perfect.
I mean, no this and no peace, as they say.
No this and no peace, yes.
But more importantly, we must realize, we must understand that we've got to be better today than we were yesterday.
Very true.
And just do it one day at a time, one block at a time, and the next thing you know is you are a much better version of yourself.
Yes.
You know, we're doing this New Year kind of thing, 2013, December.
Is it resolution?
On radio. No, it wasn't radio, it was a live radio show, my colleague and I, and he said something. He said, look, people keep doing New Year resolutions. They make it look like our lives are counted by years, but our lives are counted by the second.
Moments.
All right, so don't make it look like 2013 is rolling out and 2014 is rolling in. If you don't do something different with your life, with your time and other resources that you have, 2014 is not necessarily going to be different from 2013. And the next year after that, the next year after that, they also won't be different and things like that. So for a Tuesday like this, I believe strongly it's a blessing.
It is a blessing, and you have to make every day count. It's very important.
Right.
And the thing is, you must make the best of today. You shouldn't just sit back and say, oh my goodness, everything will fall. No, you have to make effort. You have to try your little bit.
Right.
You have to try as much as possible to make that difference. Is very important, really, it is.
We can't take that away, and as well, you realize that how you plan your day is also very crucial, all right? So what are the bullet points you're taking down in terms of the items, 1, 2, 3 specific things you want to accomplish for that day? Again, like I've learned and trained myself to be over time, it's not so much about the number of things you want to accomplish in a day. It's about the quality of those things and the impact, the weight of the impact that they have.
Very
For example, somebody can line up 16 things to do today. They may just be able to accomplish 2. Whereas another, or none. Another person lines up maybe just 8 things to do, and they accomplish 6. All right, but in all, the goal is not to chew yourself out or burn yourself out.
No.
The idea is to ensure that you're not competing with anyone other than yourself. All right, otherwise it will be rat race. And you know what they say about the rat race? The winner is still a rat.
The winner is still a rat. And this is for someone out there who thinks that all their peers have gone ahead of them and they're still left behind. I really need us to understand that there is time and season for every single thing. God sees that effort. you know, when you put in that little effort, it goes a long way. It's not like you're sitting down and you're just folding your arms. That effort can take you to take a milestone. So we should all realize and know that there is time. Your time is different from my time. My time is different from your time. At the end of the day, there will be that achievement once you make that effort, which is very important.
Yeah, you can't take that away, and that's why it's important not to get into the strife mode, as I'd like to call it.
Yes, exactly.
Where you think it's about your classmates. You know, we graduated together. I graduated top of my class. I was doing better than them. They used to hang around me to study together just before exams and all of that. But see, today they are in O&G, they are in telecoms, they are in tech, they are in banking and stuff like that. And here I am teaching a mushroom private school where my salaries don't even come as and when due and things like that. But what you don't know is there's something called mileage. There's something called momentum. All right, so one thing can lead to one thing and lead to the next and lead to the next. And the next thing you know is you are even far beyond where your mind could have fathomed.
Exactly.
All right, but again, that's why being competitive is something that's very sensitive. All right, because if you're not careful, it will become unhealthy competition.
Exactly.
In fact, it's so crazy that you even see it sometimes among siblings. They try to outdo themselves. Let's see, amongst the ladies, for example, who gets married first? Amongst the guys, who buys the first car? Who builds the first house? You know, and things like that. Who have more boy children? You know, it starts small and then it snowballs. It becomes what one of my bosses would call a bourgeois problem. It begins to expand. Then you bring it to school. You bring it to the workplace. You're striving with your colleagues, and there's a fight, bad blood all over the place. The point is, just realize that you're one person who is unique in every sense of the word, and do all you can, all right, to bring that uniqueness and let it shine through. You don't have to force it.
Yes.
And everybody who has a mind that is discerning will say it.
Exactly. And then to just add a little bit of what you just said, and all of this boils down to the home front.
Of course.
It's very important.
That's the bedrock.
That is the bedrock. It's very important for parents to understand that when you compare children, that competition would always occur. Like when you say, okay, look at your brother, why can't you do it like your brother? He's better than you. That child, it might either make
pressure.
That pressure might be there, and then that's where strife and envy comes in and all of that. So as parents, as guardians, as caretakers to these young ones, you must learn to strike a balance. You must always make them understand that, your brother's achievement is your achievement also. Be happy. Be happy for his achievement. Be happy for what he has, because you will also achieve and he will be happy. Once that healthy environment is there, it won't cause chaos when they're all grown up. So that's where all of these things come in. So it's very important that parents should be very careful on bringing up their kids, especially when it comes to when you see hatred among siblings. This is what it is, because when they were younger, they were not put through on the hazard and the risk it will cause in the future. So it's very important that we create that balance, never compare, explain to them what it is. It's okay when you fail, but the thing is that don't just lie there. You can still rise up again and become better. It's okay when your brother does better than you. Don't worry. Just be happy for him. Your time will come. There's time and season for everything. So we must create that balance and not compare, and allow siblings to have that sibling rivalry that they call it, which is unacceptable. So that's the only time that love can actually grow within that family. And even when they are all, married and they've made impact in their various sectors of life.
I think, Juma, that's pretty much the point that the Vice President, Senator Kashif Shettima, was also making at a wedding event this last weekend, when he talked about how that the family bond, the family ties, all right, that we build or engender as we grow and evolve, can have direct impacts on national unity, because people can't give what they don't have. There's a reason God made families in the first place, right? So if we get it, if we miss it at that point, we're only going to be paying lip service and doing eye service when we come to the public space and expect that we are going to perform some sort of magic, because the point of the matter is, if we don't have that cohesion within the family unit, which is the smallest as we know it, it means that even when you become a local government chairman or governor or the president, you are still going to have a problem helping to bond the country. Instead, we're going to find a situation where you're splitting people along very narrow lines.
Exactly.
Ethnicity, religion, tribalism, language, and things like that. And then you begin to create a class-conscious kind of system. Of course, there always will be classes in life. I'm sure there's next to nothing we can do about that.
Very true.
But however, we must understand that rivalry, again, can do more damage, more harm than we readily realize.
That is very true. Very well said. I wouldn't have said it better.
All right, I think this is the point where we're taking a break now, everyone. When we return, just to remind you that we are even, started on the show. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team.
All right, you are welcome back. And at this point, it's newspaper review. And we will start with our first newspaper of the day, which is the Daily Trust. And I'm going to give us a walk through that. And below the nameplate of the Daily Trust, we have NRA condemns incessant harassment of journalists by police. And then Borno, Yobe, Adamawa, children battling malnutrition, escalation, that's UNICEF. Bandits abduct 7 farmers in Kaduna, demand 2 million naira ransom. And of course, the Star story there says 21 states seek 1.65 trillion naira loan despite 40% rise in FAAC revenues. And of course, below all of that, youth angry, there'll be trouble if we don't act, or Basanjo. And that is all on the Daily Trust. Please go out and get paper so you can be well informed. Next is the Nigerian Tribune.
All right, let's turn to the Nigerian Tribune for you. We begin with the stories above the nameplates. One headline here has a picture of Asue Ighodalo, PDP candidate for the 21st September Edo gubernatorial election. Says a few court reaffirms Ighodalo as Edo PDP governorship candidate, says delegates lack locus to challenge primaries. Okay, what's more? Tinubu removes Bichi, appoints Ajayi as new DSS DG, names Ambassador Mohammed NIA head. And then three other headlines just beneath the Nigerian Tribune nameplate. Amotekun has come to stay in Ondo. Ayedatiwa is the one saying that. Also is the person running for governor on the platform of the APC come November this year. And then a headline here with a picture of Wale Edun, Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy. And it reads, Nigeria's GDP grows by 3.19% amidst oil production drop in quarter 2, 2024. That's according to the National Bureau of Statistics, NBS. And then to the Star story, the Patriots steps up move for new Nigeria constitution. Let's see what the writers say. Sets up 17-man advocacy committee killer heads team to begin consultations with NAS members, other stakeholders. Ayoku speaks on Yugoslavia, Czechoslovakia, Sudan, Canada. Reiterates why now is best time to have new constitution. Now, all of those details are with you on page 15 of today's issue of the Nigerian Tribune. You can find them there. Resident doctors begin 7-day strike. Now, these are headlines from the left corner of the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. That strike actually kicked in yesterday. This is the second day, incidentally, and turns out it's one of our big discussions this morning on the program. Okay, police arrest 11 as masked men in NDLEA military uniform hijack multi-million naira tramadol in Lagos. Residents of Plateau, Zamfara, and Niger mining communities live in fear over constant bandits attacks. AMCON intensifies recovery efforts and lists international assets trade traces. Nigeria's divestment with Ondo, Mobile, ENI, Ajib, others in accordance with PIA. That's according to the NUPRC. That has been a very controversial issue, but the regulator has come out to say that all of these divestments comply squarely with the provisions of the Petroleum Industry Act. That's the PIA. All right, let's join Jumai as she flips over to the Guardian newspaper for us.
All right, the Guardian newspaper is up next, and below the nameplate we have Tinubu hits at economic recovery amid inflation, deficit concerns. And you can find that on page 6. And below that, it says IPOB threatens violence, alleges ethnic cleansing in Imo. And you can find that story there on page 29. Massive drop in enrollment threatens existence of Unity schools. And of course, you can find that on page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Below all of that, it says Falana rallies NBA against illegal arrest, detention by police and others. And opposition working for Tinubu's second term, Lukman alleges. And police arrest 97 suspects over Abuja attack. Huruwa urges persecution. Oshun confirms monkeypox activates emergency response. AMCON enlists international tracers to recover 5 trillion naira asset from debtors. And that you can find on page 6. And NARD begins warning strike, demands immediate rescue of kidnapped member. So that's the origination of this particular strike, of one of their members that was kidnapped in the hands of abductors.
Dr. Ganiat Popola.
Exactly. So it just seems that they're in one accord and they just want the rescue of one of their members, which is in line because they need immediate response. She has been there for almost a month.
No, 8 months.
8 months. 8 months now. Sorry, 8 months, and that's a long time, really. You can, I don't want to imagine the trauma, in which she's going through. For her to come out, then it's really serious. I think the federal government should swing into action as soon as possible.
I think it's even painful that it has to get to this point. I mean, one would have thought when the National Association of Resident Doctors goes on strike, it has to deal with emoluments, salaries, pay, and all of that. But this has nothing, to do with pay or salary arrears or what have you. It is about life here. And you're also looking at the length of time for which this person has been held, not by law enforcement, all right, not by even a state entity, but instead by some criminal elements who are faceless or sometimes called unknown gunmen.
Unfortunate incident there. And next, of course, we have the Nation newspaper.
All right, let's bring you to the Nation, everyone. We begin with the big story right on the front page of it. It says Tinubu GDP surge points to an economy on right path. The writer says NBS links growth to industry services sector. I made 7 million naira in 1 year growing tomatoes. Well, find out who is saying that when we pick up a copy of today's issue of the Nation newspaper. Above the nameplates, under 18 pupils barred from writing WAEC NECO exams. That actually came through yesterday from the Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Maman. Why Southeast students are yet to benefit from federal government loans. What's the reason? Well, you can also read that up from the Nation newspaper. Ajayi replaces Bichi as the SSDG. Mohammed takes over at NIA. All right, those are some of the headlines you will find this morning where you pick up a copy of the Nation newspaper. 97 held for killing of 2 policemen in Abuja attack. That was a very gory incident from last Sunday. But now we understand that authorities have taken into custody 97 persons in connection with this attack. Accelerated stabilization advancements, economic plan takes off. Okay, and then lastly here we have on the foots of the Nation newspaper, AMCON eyes global assets of major bad debtors. 2 mpox cases in Oshun, now doctors are on strike. I mean, most of them, and that is quite sad. But this issue, Jumai, around under 18 pupils being barred from writing NECO and WAEC, it's been a while coming. The other time it was about admission when the Professor Tahir Maman, Minister of Education, has said, look, if you're below 18, you can't be admitted into a tertiary institution in the country. Some people say no, because there are children who get out of high school as young as 15 and 16.
Very true, my sister.
And things like that. But the government also advanced its reasons for proposing that sort of, if you like, requirement or threshold. But then, thing is, as they say, my mom would always say, all fingers are not equal.
Very true.
Some children can accomplish at age 15 what others may not be able to achieve at age 18.
Very true.
But I think what the government is trying to do is have a blanket requirement in such a way that it's not peculiar to any institution. So if you're not 18, you're not 18, that sort of thing. But let's see how we take this conversation further. My only concern most times is the rivalry that usually ensues in cases like this between JAMB, of course, which is always on the side of the Ministry of Education.
Very true.
And then the tertiary institutions themselves. And then in the middle of all that, you have the National Universities Commission that specifically regulates universities and sets standards, as it were, for them.
Yeah, very true. And looking at this, it's very controversial, because if you're going to stop children who are below 18 to write the exams, that means they will not be in the same pace with their peers.
But again, it does not mean we are competing now.
But really, it doesn't matter what the public may see. We have individuals that we are all on the same pace with, like people that you graduated from school with. We have our sets and all of that.
But must we move at the same pace? If they're on level 9, for example, the civil service must also be on level 9?
But wait a minute, calm down.
Yes.
What I'm saying is they can actually write the exams, but admit them into the university, they should wait.
Till they are 18.
Till they're 18. They can learn a vocational skill. But let them write the exam. Because really, if you do not, because this could actually discourage a child in some sort of way. We should look at the implication of all of these things. Because if my mates, let me just use that, are writing exams because they're 17, 18, or let's say it's 17, and I am 15, and we're in the same secondary school together and I'm doing very well, let me just write the exam. I know that, okay, I have the qualifications of going into university. I just need to wait till I reach a certain age, but I can learn a vocational skill, and I know I am done with that. And then the next process, because we have to think about the children also. It's very important. Some kids cannot take no very lightly. They can't. They really need to understand, because the kids that we have nowadays are very, very intelligent, and they will tell you why. What have I done wrong? They will not understand that it's their age. You know, all this sort of thing we have to put into place. Really, for me, they should write the exams, but they will not be admitted into tertiary institution because of their age. So you tell them, okay, fine, you already have the qualification that it entails. You have your WAEC, but you have to wait like a year or two before you go. But you can learn a vocational skill or do something with that. But stopping them completely, it's going to take a toll on these kids. And how about some kids who it's going to take a toll? I think we should really...
I'm looking at a couple of possibilities. Now, this is not me trying to hold break for the federal government, because I have growing children, right? And someday they're going to be in high school and university and all of that. But here's the points that I find. I mean, a couple of points, actually. One of them is the fact that the people in government, those who are driving this policy, also have children. Whether they're schooling here or abroad is a secondary concern. All right? But we must also realize that writing WAEC or NECO is not all there is to life or raising children. Again, it comes down to entitlement.
But it's a criteria in Nigeria.
It's a criteria. They're not saying you cannot write it. It's only about when you get to write it. If they are saying you are not writing it at all, that's when it becomes even an argument. They're not saying you can't write it. They're saying there's got to be an age requirement as an element.
That's what I'm telling you, Uli.
Right.
I am saying that when you are when you graduate from secondary school and you don't look at your books for a very long time, you tend to forget.
You see, that's where parenting and coaching comes in. I'll give you an example.
Please.
So what do we say to parents who homeschool? What do we say to parents?
It's different because you know, when you're done with homeschool, you know the next thing you have a particular stage in life in which you move. I cannot allow my child finish secondary school and then stay and wait till he's 18 before
what do we do if this policy...
It doesn't make sense.
What do we do if this policy... You see, we don't have all the facts yet. Let's also be clear.
True. I'm just saying in my
What do we
opinion,
do? What do we do if this... Because in some cases, I mean, you probably shouldn't be surprised if there's going to be some litany of litigation following this. Of course, there's going to be back and forth. There's probably going to be an expanded consultation with all the critical stakeholders, even with parents on some level.
Exactly.
But in the final analysis, I mean, for the purpose of this conversation, what if this policy came to be, for example, ultimately? Now, it's just like when the issue of BVN came. Some people said, must I do BVN? But by the time they realized that BVN was a requirement for you to even be able to access your account, people had to go to the bank as early as 5 a.m. to wait. So that's number one. Number two is, if the policy comes to stay, what do we do? No, assuming, for example, we wake up tomorrow morning, the policy has come to stay, everybody has accepted it. What do we do?
Then, fine. I am not. There's always going to be a way. I'm just saying the child's psychology, the impact on the toll on the child. I'm done with secondary school because
so why are you keeping me at home?
I'm 16. Why are you keeping me at home? There's some parents who are just lucky. There's some kids who are naturally intelligent. You cannot take it away from that
Even
child.
when they are far from 18.
Even when they are far from 18, they are so intelligent. And then look at the economy of Nigeria at the moment. So you expect a woman who God has blessed with an intelligent child who is 15 or 16, done with secondary school, and is selling tomatoes or something, and she has to wait when her prayer is, oh God, let this child be successful so that he can lift this burden out. You expect that woman to keep her child at home for 2 years. Are you kidding me? So I feel, my own opinion, not Global Television, there should be a review. We should look at their kids that are just naturally intelligent, who will actually brace up when they're in higher institution with their peers. My sister, for example, 15 years, year one, and she's doing excellently well. So what are you saying, Uyi? You cannot...
You see, Jumaide, okay, let's not stretch this any further, because those who are going to call the shots are not even done yet.
Exactly.
But you know, there's something called exception to the rule. That one person has stood out. I'll give you an instance. Now, in university, I had friends all around me who were doing, you know what they call a WOCO, right? You have to study all night because it's just a few weeks away from exams. It never worked for me. I tried it only once. Okay. It never worked for me. Now, what's the point? The point here is it worked for all my friends that I knew in my class from first year to graduation, but it never worked for me. So I was more like an exemption to the rule. I never did that sort of marathon study for exam. Do you understand what I'm saying? But what I realized from all of that experience, all through those years, was that people are peculiar in their way. But for me, what we have to look at is first the peculiarity of our environment, the kind of university system we have, the kind of testing system we have, the peculiarities of WAEC, of NECO, of JAMB, and what have you. And then let's also see what other measures are we putting in place, some sort of in-between measures. If you say a child can't write WAEC until they are 18, yet this child has written internal exams as early as 15 or 16, what do you want them to do with those 2-3 years in the middle? Exactly. The government must provide practical, real-time answers to those questions. Very important. You must also look at what toll will it take on parents, on families, in terms of the psychological impact of it, all right, in terms of the cost of it. Because if a child is supposed to get into school this year, let's say even a public university, and it's supposed to cost, let's say, $1,000, all right, to process the admission and get them into school. If they were to do that 2 years down the line, 3 years down the line, how much more will they pay? Where would that extra money come from? Can they bank on this student loan that has just been started by NEL Fund? Are there other sort of palliatives, all right, that can help cushion that impact of the extra cost that will accrue to the parents? I think these are the questions. See, there always will be problems with policies, no matter how beautifully laid out they are, no matter how well-intentioned government is about it. But the important thing is that there must be that sincerity of purpose. True. We must understand the short, medium-term, and long-term implications of those policy decisions that we're making, and we must be sure that we're bringing the best brains to the conversation when we have those policies, or we make those policies, not just politicians or those who belong in our small little clique.
Very important.
Right.
Yes, there should be measures put in place. Like you've said it all. If there are measures put in place, and
we're all going to be fine.
We're all going to be fine.
Right.
If you have everything under control, there's a process to all of these things. Making the because the most important in all of these policies, the individuals that have the major concern are the students. Psychologically, how are they going to take it? Like you see, that's the thing. When we hear of depression, we didn't know that it would get to us. When the whites were suffering, we heard that.
So there was an Oyibo man's thing.
We thought it was an Oyibo man's thing. So they got to Nigeria. You see people committing suicide here and there because you'll be shocked. There's some details that you just brace yourself and take it in. Another person, it's like something that can kill that kind of person. So we have to be very sensitive when dealing with children, especially those that are on the right track. It's very important not to distort that process of
Let's wait and
let's just
keep our fingers crossed and see how this turns out.
Very important.
I think we're going to the Punch now, and Jumai has all of those headlines.
And yes, I will be giving us some very punchy headlines at about this point. And the star story on the Punch is FG to shut errand fuel stations as petrol hits 1,000 naira per litre. And then the writer there says queues persist at NNPCL, major marketer stations, as PMS shortage worsens. And then below, WAEC, ASU, NUT differs as federal government hence under 18 candidates. We just spoke about that now. Kidnappers, patients groan as Nord strike grounds hospital. And it says 136 euro-bound African migrants rescued at Spanish port. And that's basically it on The Punch. Please go out and get The Punch newspaper for more details on this issues making rounds. Next is This Day.
Before I turn to This Day, Jumai, this fuel issue, I don't know.
I don't really want to...
Somebody says if you do the wrong thing long enough, it will become right by default. It's just for you to do it long enough. It will become normal. It will appear, sad as it sounds, that we are normalizing the wrong things. Now this is Punch newspaper this morning reporting that petrol pump prices hit 1,000. You may say it's not countrywide. But there must have been a few places, because just a few weeks ago, we heard of places where it's even sold for, I mean, upwards of 1,000 naira.
True.
And if that becomes the norm, I mean, across board, every service station is selling for 1,000. It's only a matter of maybe a day or two before people begin to settle in and feel like, well, it is what it is now. Let's deal with it. What's the worst that will happen? We hike the prices of commodities, essentials, including transportation. And then everybody kicks in, and the next thing you know is those who work are asking for salary increase, and then you're dragging yourselves back and forth and things like that. Again, that's what happens when we pretend and live in denial about issues. Nigeria has real problems with the oil and gas sector.
Yes, we do.
Today we're talking about divestments by international oil companies, IOCs, how that is affecting the industry. We're talking about the Dangote issue, whether or not we should sell crude to him in Naira and do the same for other local refineries.
True.
You know, we're talking about regulation here and there. We're talking about whether or not we should fix our refineries, what it will cost us. We're talking about what we have spent between 2007 and today fixing or doing what they call TAM, turnaround maintenance on our refineries and so on and so forth. Until we answer these questions, because I remember we had a minister of petroleum resources in this country who was asked pointedly, can we fix our refineries? The man dodged the question because it was apparently bigger than him. But you see, for whatever it's worth, until we go back and answer those fundamental questions, it's going to be blame game again and again and again. So it's going to be President Tinubu we are blaming today. It's going to be next president we're blaming tomorrow. But the question is, has the problem been solved?
Yeah, that's a big question mark. I don't think, for me, in my own opinion, I'm not sure if this issue is going away very soon. I think it's going to linger a bit. It's just unfortunate that most of us are going to feel the brunt of it because we do have, like, you know the story, I've said it since last week.
Ultimately, we will depend on fuel.
Exactly. It doesn't matter how big or how small. Businesses depend on fuel, small scale, large scale, offices and all of that. It's just unfortunate that this issue is lingering till this time.
Right.
It has lingered for so long. We just thought it was like a 2-day, okay, it's just a normal thing, it will, but now it has lingered. And it's just unfortunate. It's really unfortunate.
Quite sad. Let's take a look at this day newspaper for you. On the front page of this day, top on the just above the nameplate of it, says NUPRC Ondo NAOC deal followed due process, complied with extant rules, and they say those extant rules include the Petroleum Industry Act (PIA). Says NNPC mobile court case delayed agreement, transaction undergoing due diligence. That's according to the authorities. What else do we have here? Says CBN lifts SLF suspension. Banks to earn up to 19 to 25.75% on deposits. How much of that comes to the depositor? We don't know. GDP grows by 3.19% in Q2. That's second quarter of 2024. And then the big story says, new spy chiefs trigger new expectations in a nation's security. Mohammed replaces Abubakar as DG NIA. Ajayi takes Bichi's place at DSS. Tinubu charges new man to reposition agencies, use experience to tackle security. NNPC announces commencement of LNG supply to Japan, China. Liquefied natural gas now to be supplied to Japan and China. Hopefully we don't begin to suffer shortage and astronomical increase in price back at home. Charity must begin at home and justice, as they say, from the next door. Let's go to the Vanguard. Juma has all the details from there.
All right, on the Vanguard, above the nameplate, we have CBN lift ban on lending to banks, peg interest rates at 31.75%. And you can get that news on page 20. And here it says, Global Union, others decry worsening rights abuse in Nigeria. AMCON enlists international asset tracers to recover 5 trillion naira debts. Nigerian records 166,000 BPD below budget benchmark, and that's a report there. You can find that on page 3. Tinubu appoints Mohammed as DG, NIA Ajayi DG SS. And below the nameplate, it says outrage as federal government pegs age for writing WAEC at 18 years. And it says, the writer there says, it will draw back education, and UT will go to court, parents will respond later, WAEC, and we want meeting of stakeholders, CONOA, and why parents rushing their children, assume. And below all of that, below all of that caption, it says here, will implement state police, say Ondo, River, Jigawa governors. And here it says, separate office of AGF from AGFG, PDP governors. Floods kill 49 Jigawa, Adamawa, Taraba displaced thousands, and you can find that on page 15. And basically, that is it on the Vanguard. Please go out and get a copy of the newspaper.
Yes, I think that's what the beauty is, Jumai, when you go out and get the paper and then get the details for yourself as well, so that you can stay ahead of the news and not be misled or misinformed by vendors and purveyors of fake news. We're taking a quick break now, everyone. When we return, Anthony Mamodu has some sport update for us ahead of the program. Do stay with us.
Hello, sports fans. Welcome to Sports News Update. A British teenager is officially the fastest age 14 100-meter sprinter in the world after he smashed the previous record and set a staggering new time. Divine Ehime, perhaps the quickest teenager athlete on these shores at the tender age of just 14, laid down a new milestone as he clocked a blistering 10.30 seconds. Lightning Divine was singled out as a likely track superstar of the future after recording UK best times for the 100 meters and 200 meters in April this year. He also beat his best 100 meters effort in June with a time of 10.65 seconds and has crossed the line even faster, only to miss out on the record books due to wind-assisted races. However, his incredible feat at Lee Valley this week will go down in history. Manchester City midfielder Matheus Nunes has emerged as a lone target for Atletico Madrid. The 25-year-old midfielder may find opportunities limited at the Etihad following the return of club legend Ike Gundogan, who arrived in Manchester on a free transfer last week. Nunes joined the Premier League champions last summer and has since chalked up 31 appearances across all competitions, despite failing to score a single goal for the club. Atletico Madrid's interest in the Portuguese midfielder comes in the wake of Julian Alvarez's stunning £81 million move to the Spanish capital earlier this summer. Alvarez made his first start under Diego Simeone, joining Atletico's 3-0 triumph over last season's surprise package Girona on Sunday. Liverpool admire Juventus forward Federico Chiesa and are exploring whether to make a late bid to sign the Italian this week. Nothing is advanced at this stage, but the Reds are aware that Chiesa is available and they are exploring whether to make a play to bring him to England. It is thought that the Italian is keen on the move to Anfield. New boss Arne Slot has won his first 2 Premier League matches, but the club have been quiet on the transfer front, with the deadline rapidly approaching. However, after agreeing a deal with Valencia for goalkeeper Georgi Mamadashvili, Liverpool are now considering several options further forward. Despite being able to choose from the likes of Mohamed Salah, Luis Diaz, Diego Jota, Cody Gakpo and Darwin Núñez, Slot appears open to reinforcing his front line. And wrapping it up, a private jet has reportedly been scheduled for Jadon Sancho to fly from Manchester to Turin amid Juventus' interest in the winger. As reported by Manchester Evening News, United are prepared to sell Sancho before the closure of the transfer window. United manager Erik ten Hag feels that he has sufficient squad depth even if Sancho departs, while if the 24-year-old left permanently, it would help the club's profit and sustainability calculations. However, according to Sky Sport News, Juventus have made it clear they are only interested in a loan move for Sancho. Sancho, who is also subject of interest from Chelsea, didn't feature in United's opening 2 Premier League games of the season. United believe that talks over a move for Sancho are more advanced with Juventus than Chelsea. Sancho travelled with the United squad to Brighton but wasn't even named on the bench for the 2-1 defeat. And that's our quality wrap on the Sports News Update. I am Anthony Momodu.
Right, you're welcome back, and yes, it's still Global Morning on Global Television. That was the sports segment, and now over to some business segment. Let's hear what's happening in the world of business. Stay tuned.
The combined impact of Naira depreciation and high inflation pressure has triggered a 121% rise in the production cost of cement, deeming Nigerians for the lower price. Another factor militating against the lower price of the product is the rising trend in the smuggling to neighboring countries where the price is higher than the price in Nigeria. In neighboring countries like Chad and Cameroon, the price range from $120 to $150 per 50 bag of cement. At the exchange rate of 1,600 per dollar, this translates to a price of 240,000 naira to 270,000 naira per 50 kg bag of cement, which is far higher than the local price of 8,000 naira. Confirming this development, Kabiru Rabiu, Group Executive Director, BUA Cement, says one of the pressure faced by the organization is the high level of illegal smuggling of exports of cement to Cameroon and Chad. Looking at the analysis of the financial performance of the top 3 leading cement manufacturers, revealed a decline in profitability due to the rising cost of production. Specifically, the combined revenue of 3 top cement manufacturers grew by 84.5% to 116 trillion in the first quarter of 2024 from 604.9 billion naira in the corresponding period of the first quarter of 2023. The rise in revenue was, however, overshadowed by a 121% spike in combined production costs to 586.6 billion naira in the first quarter of 2024 from 246.9 billion naira in the first quarter of 2023. The greenback rose from 7-month lows, aimed some bargain hunting, though dollar gains were capped by expectation of the interest rate cut. The naira gained roughly 50 naira, settling at 1,546 naira to a dollar, up from 1,592. However, domestic currency lost 1,600 support line in the black market, trading at 1,610 naira last Wednesday, compared to 1,605 naira as at Tuesday. Market indicators confirm that despite improved macroeconomic conditions in the Nigerian FX market, the local currency is struggling to maintain the crucial 1,500 naira support line level and is under significant strain this month. Fundamentals suggest that the local currency may move towards 1,800 if it cannot sustain its current level at the point, given staunch postponement of free market economics will be spectacular that the naira will reach its March high in the next quarter. I am Samuel Odi.
All right, you're welcome back from that business segment. Hope you were well informed when it comes to the world of business. Up next is AM News, and Uyi Agbomofuegbe will be taking the news. Stay tuned. It's still Global Morning.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agbomofuegbe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Get in on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team. Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan because
this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu
on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians.
Because that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's The Decks on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on The Decks. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on The Decks.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumaine Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and they repeat every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet event to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chong Animal Joseph on Global Television.
Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to the AM News on Global Television. Coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja, I am Uyi Agbonfwebe. We would like to remind you that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365 and free to air on Nightcomsat. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Ambassador Mohammed Mohammed as the new Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, NIA, and Adiola Ajayi as the new Director General of the Department of State Service. Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Ajire Ngalale, made this known in a statement in Abuja, noting that Mohammed, a seasoned Foreign Service officer, has had a distinguished career spanning over 2 decades, serving in various roles in countries including North Korea, Pakistan, Sudan, and Libya. Similarly, Ajayi, the new Department of State Service chief, Ngalale noted has risen through the ranks, serving as state director in several states, including Bauchi, Enugu, Bayelsa, Rivers, and Kogi. At least 35 people have been killed, with over 50,000 others across 17 local government areas displaced following heavy flooding in several parts of Jigawa State. The state's emergency management agency says several farmlands have been washed away by the floodwaters across the affected areas. Global Television's Jibrin Idris has more.
Abdu Inwa is a subsistence farmer in Kiawa local government area of Jigawa State. He watched helplessly how his only farm was washed away by the flood. With 2 wives and 10 children, Inwa is now at the mercy of the state government or anyone willing to assist.
Here is my farmland, and I spent so many thousands of naira here. And I depend upon God and I depend upon this farming. As you are watching me, everything is cleared out away by this heavy rainfall. Even the person who has 74 to 75 years, he didn't experience this.
Residents have lost their only means of survival and resorted to seeking refuge in schools and mosques.
All this area is like a valley. So whenever rain fall to all the places like Sabongari and many other places, the water will be coming down here. So, and whenever it comes down here, it has no exit to go out. So that is why it will overflow all this area, because if you look at inside here, it is about 1,000 of houses where some are collapsed and all the people inside have migrated from the place because of the flooding.
Jigawa State has 27 local government, out of which 17 are affected by the flood. The government says over 50,000 people are currently displaced across the affected local government areas.
The death toll now is almost 35. Okay. Well, you know, it keep on increasing. Even the IDPs keep on increasing because of the continued rain. Before we assumed that it is only the dam that will give us this havoc. But unfortunately, it's not the dam now. It's just the heavy downfall. Which about 53,000 persons that are displaced. that are affected. In a household, you see 5, 10 people that are involved.
As one of the poorest states in northern Nigeria, but the most agriculturally viable in the country, Jigawa farming communities have so far lost almost all their entire harvest to flood, as residents expressed concern over imminent food shortage this year. Idris Jobrin, Global Television News. Abdu Inwa.
Well, thank you, Jibrin, for that reporting from Jigawa State. The Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS Parliament, has convened in Banjul, the Gambia, to advance the implementation of a crucial protocol that facilitates the free movement of persons, the right of residence, and the establishment of businesses across the region. The protocol, initially adopted on 29 May 1979, is a cornerstone of ECOWAS's vision for deeper regional integration and economic cooperation among its member states. In his opening remarks, the Gambia's Minister of Trade, Industry and Regional Integration and Employment, Baboucarr Diouf, reaffirmed his country's commitment to the principles of regional integration. And back home, President Bola Tinubu has vowed to keep promoting the rule of law, adhere to the principles of separation of powers, and tolerate dissenting views within the ambit of the laws of Nigeria, stating that his administration had made steady progress in the efforts to rebuild the country through legal and judicial reforms. The president spoke in Lagos when he declared open the annual General Conference of the Nigerian Bar Association, NBA. Tinubu, who was represented by Vice President Kashif Shettima, acknowledged the association's sterling history of championing democratic ideals as well as promoting the rule of law. The president implored Nigerian lawyers and other citizens to join hands with his administration in resolutely working towards a Nigeria of everyone's dreams. In a related development, Director General of the World Trade Organization, WTO, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, has stressed the urgent need for Nigeria to move beyond political infighting and inconsistent policies that have hindered the country's development since independence. Okonjo-Iweala spoke at the Nigerian Bar Association annual conference held in Lagos. She also stated that collective efforts rather than a blame game are needed to move the nation forward. Minister of Education, Professor Tahir Mamman, says the West African Examinations Council, WAEC, has been directed by the federal government to enforce the 18-year age requirement for candidates wishing to take the exams. WAEC oversees the senior school certificate examination, and according to Professor Mamman, the policy is not new. Mamman also pointed out that the policy aligns with the typical educational trajectory. Former Nigerian President Olusegun Obasanjo has stated that the widespread of poverty in Africa is a man-made and not an act of God. Obasanjo made this statement at the opening ceremony of the First Talk Africa Festival at the Jomo Kenyatta Stadium in Kisumu, Kenya. The former president remarked that given the continent's abundant resources, there is no reason for the continent's poverty. Ekiti State's government has called on local council authorities to exercise fiscal discipline and allocate resources judiciously to improve conditions at the grassroots level. Commissioner for Local Government Affairs, Folarunsho Olabode, urged local governments to prioritize the needs of their communities and agriculture in their 2025 budgets to address residents' needs and ensure food security. The workshop, organized by Ministry of Local Government Affairs in collaboration with the Budget, Economic Planning and Performance Management departments, is aimed at educating council officials on setting up the medium-term expenditure framework, a 3-year rolling plan aligning budgeting processes with developmental goals to ensure sustainable growth. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria has denied claims that over 600 Nigerian pilgrims have remained in Saudi Arabia after performing lesser Hajj in the country. Former Kaduna Central Senator Shehu Sani, in a tweet on his official X handle, had made the claim, raising concerns about the Saudi authorities tightening visa rules. However, the Commission's Deputy Director of Public Affairs, Fatima Usara, denied the claims, noting that neither the Saudi nor Nigerian authorities had a record of such persons. Sokoto State's government says it will investigate claims made by the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, regarding alleged theft and sale of nutrition supplements donated to the state to improve health of malnourished children. The fund's chief of field office for Sokoto, Kebbi, and Zamfara states, Michael Juma, had raised the alarm during a quarterly policymakers meeting in Sokoto. He said the supplements provided by donors and distributed to healthcare centers across various communities were misappropriated by individuals within the system who colluded with traders to sell them to unintended recipients. Delta and Kogi states have activated their camps for internally displaced persons after the federal government had alerted both states alongside Niger, Kwara, Anambra, and Imo of an impending rise of the River Niger water level. Minister of Finance Wale Edun made the disclosure that the National Economic Council has approved 3 billion naira to support farmers in Kebbi and other states affected by flooding. The flooding advisory to the states came on the heels of the warning issued by the Nigeria Hydrological Services Agency regarding the increasing volumes of River Niger. The proposed meeting between the federal government and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, initially scheduled for yesterday, has been postponed to tomorrow, Wednesday, the 28th of August. The union's president, Emmanuel Oshodoke, confirmed that the meeting, which was previously announced by Minister of Education, will no longer hold. Although no reason was given for the postponement, the meeting is now expected to take place tomorrow, Wednesday, August 28th. Kaduna State Governor Senator Uba Sani has inaugurated the Kaduna State Skills Development Council to tackle the skills deficit and youth unemployment across the state. The governor says the council will develop a skill development framework, strategic implementation plan, and annual action plans to address youth unemployment in the state. In his remarks during the inauguration, Governor Sani emphasized the importance of investing in human capital to equip youth with skills to respond to the fast-changing needs of the 21st century and contribute to the state's economic development. Troops of the 1 Division Nigerian Army, Kaduna, have killed a terrorist and recovered a cache of arms and ammunition during a clearance operation in the state. The acting Deputy Director, Army Public Relations, Lieutenant Colonel Musa Yahaya, in a statement in Kaduna, said the operation was conducted in the general areas of Sabon Breni, Dogondawa, Meidaro, Ngedi Alpha, and Rafin Kaji. He said during the operations, troops made contact with terrorist elements, leading to a firefight that resulted in the killing of 1 terrorist, while others fled with suspected gunshot injuries. Bandits have abducted over 150 persons and rustled over 1,000 cattle in some villages in Gobere Emirate of Sokoto State. The incident happened a few days after the death in kidnappers' den of Emir of Gobere, Isa Mohammed Bawa, who was also the district head of Gatawa. Hundreds of youths in the area eventually staged protests after the killing of the district head, forcing the state government to impose a curfew on Sabon Breni. Watching AM News on Global Television, coming to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. When the news returns, Ukraine says 6 killed in what it calls most massive Russian air attack. We will bring you those details and more stories after this short break. Please don't go away. This is Global Television bringing you a live broadcast of the AM News. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. Now, let's turn to business. President Bola Tinubu will officially inaugurate the upgraded West Africa Container Terminal in Rivers State on September 4. In a statement, West Africa Container Terminal and the terminal located within the oil and gas free zone in One, Rivers State, has undergone a significant upgrade which began in 2021. The terminal is operated by APM Terminals and regarded as Nigeria's largest and most efficient container terminal outside of Lagos. The federal government has declared that the Nigeria National Petroleum Company Limited does not have the funds required to rebuild old pipelines. Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Anikin Lokpobiri, stated this at the Energy and Labour Summit 2024, organized by the Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria in Abuja. Lokpobiri, while speaking about the divestment of international oil companies and the need to ramp up production, emphasized that Nigeria also needs to repair its pipelines, which he said are old, corroded, and expired. Let's talk about the economy now. The gross domestic product GDP of Nigeria is said to have grown by 3.19% in the second quarter of 2024, driven by growth in the services sector. The report indicated that second quarter GDP performance is driven by the services sector, which grew by 3.79% and contributed about 58.76% to the total GDP. Agricultural sector experienced modest growth, expanding by 1.41%, slightly down from the 1.50% growth rate recorded in second quarter of 2023. Meanwhile, the industry sector rebounded strongly, posting a 3.53% growth compared to a contraction of minus 1.94% in the second quarter of last year. Now, there are indications that the federal government committee that was set up to ensure the implementation of crude oil sales to local refineries in Naira will further discuss the pricing of premium motor spirits PMS, popularly called petrol, to be released by the Dangote Petroleum Company next month. Multiple officials, both among oil marketers and members of the Implementation Committee on Crude Oil Sales in Naira, under the leadership of the Minister of Finance and Coordinating Minister of the Economy, Wale Edu, confirmed that the panel will be holding a series of meetings this week and in coming weeks on the development. The Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, says the lack of proper identification of investors is a key factor contributing to unclaimed dividends. Speaking during a recent interview, the Commission's Director General, Emomotimi Agama, said this was identified as a major challenge by the SEC and the Committee for Identity Management for the Capital Market. He stated that technology would play a crucial role in addressing this challenge, with the SEC working to ensure that investors are properly identified to facilitate the payment of dividends. The new managing director of the Niger Delta Power Holding Company, Jennifer Adigije, has committed to driving positive change within the organization by harnessing technology and human capital. During the handover ceremony in Abuja, Adigije expressed gratitude for a smooth transition and thanked President Bola Tinubu as well as Vice President Kashif Shettima for the opportunity to serve. On the foreign scene now, civilians are among the dozens of people killed in an attack by militants in Burkina Faso, that's according to local and security sources. Jihadist rebels affiliated with Al-Qaeda and the Islamic State group have waged grinding insurgency since 2015 in Burkina Faso that has killed thousands and displaced 2 million people. The latest attack was carried out by armed men in the village of Basalogo in north-central Burkina Faso. And beyond Africa now, Russia has launched one of its biggest airstrikes on Ukraine of the war so far, the head of the Ukrainian Air Force said. At least 6 people were killed and dozens wounded as missiles and drones were fired into more than half of Ukraine's regions. Power infrastructure was hit, causing widespread blackouts as the entire country was put under air raid alerts and told to take shelter. Russia confirmed it had launched attacks on Ukraine's energy infrastructure, one of its long-term tactics, and said all its targets were hit. The barrage of missile and drone attacks began across the country overnight on Monday and continued into the morning. And now let's turn to sports. Nigeria's 8-man table tennis squad to the 2024 Paralympics in Paris, tutored by Nasiru Sule, says it is determined to bring medals home from the event that begins on Thursday, August 29. The Paralympics starts on Wednesday, August 28 and runs till September 8. The Nigerian team of 6 men and 2 women will compete in doubles, mixed doubles, and singles events. Impressed with his heroics in the CAF Confederation Cup against El Kanami, Cheetahs of Benin Republic coach Gennett Rohr has hinted about the inclusion of Daje FC goalkeeper Karim Rahman in his list of players to prosecute next month's 2025 Africa Cup of Nations duel against Nigeria and Libya. Rohr described Daje's win over the Nigerian side as a morale booster and stated that Rahman, who impressed in the match, will be listed for the upcoming international matches for the Cheetahs. On a very sad note, Swedish football manager Sven-Göran Eriksson, who coached England from 2001 to 2006, has died at the age of 76 after a battle with pancreatic cancer. His agent, Bo Gustafsson, says he passed peacefully yesterday morning with his family around him at his home. And that's it on the AM News that it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. A quick reminder that Global Television is on DSTV, channel 365, Star Times, channel 276, and free to air on Nigecomsat. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using @Global TVNG and other handles now showing on your screen. I'm Agbo Fwegbe. Send a big thank you to you for watching. The rest of Global Morning with yours sincerely and Jumai Masen continues in a moment. Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofwebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team. Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. Can we not say that because
that this country gets it right?
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
It's It's time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Beautiful work from the wingers.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumaine Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and they repeat every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet event to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chong Annabelle Joseph on Global Television.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumaine Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team. Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria, Come join Anthony Momodou on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. Because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits?
It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your limit.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodou. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and it repeats every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet event to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chong Annabelle Joseph on Global Television.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here.
Global Morning is your ultimate destination for engaging political and economic matters. I am Uyi Agmofrebe.
And don't forget to include social discussions. Tune in every weekdays from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. I am Queen Agaba.
For insightful breakfast ideas, business summaries, sports highlights, international and local news perspective, I am Anthony Momodu.
Don't miss the in-depth analysis of current and political issues by the Global Morning team and experts. I am Jumai Manson.
Catch Global Morning here on Global Television. Getting on the action. I am Edikan Michael.
We are
the Global Morning team. Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are definitely. We are definitely because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your remaining.
Get a shot in, squares it into the back.
It's It's time for sports' biggest moments on global television. The headlines, scores, breaking news and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
With every government and introduction of new policies, businesses of all kinds and sizes seize the opportunity to evolve and redefine themselves. Business Point on Global Television is where we follow the money and put the facts and figures right in front of you. Watch Business Point every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. as Kikelamo Okeri tracks all the latest developments across critical sectors. Business Point. This is business.
Get ready for it. Inside Today brings you issues relating to family, peer pressure, drugs, substance abuse, societal and topical issues making rounds. Join Jumain Manson on Global Television Monday to Thursday and it repeats every Friday. Time 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. Don't miss out.
Are you ready to be entertained like never before? Get ready to dive into the latest and greatest entertainment news in lifestyle, music, movies, birthday celebration, and so much more. All on Entertainment Circle on Global Television. From the hottest red carpet event to exclusive interviews with your favorite stars, we've got you covered. Stay up to date with the latest trends and news from the entertainment world, all in one place. Tune in every Saturday by 1 p.m. with Chong Annabelle Joseph on Global Television.
Just before we get on the road with our first discussion this morning, of course, there's a second discussion. I mean, when you look at the whole system right now, I mean, you look at the entire cost of living spectrum, you're wondering what are the factors complicating all of this. A while ago, Joe Meyer and I were looking at the papers, and one of the stories that did actually stick out was the one around how that filling stations may now be shut, given the fact that some of them are dispensing fuel for as high as 1,000 naira per liter. All right. Before now it was, well, some people say 600 and something, others say 700, that sort of thing, you know, that range, which most Nigerians, from what we know, were beginning to adjust to. But now, with all of the story around 1,000 naira pump price, it becomes not just astronomical, but it's very worrisome. Because whether you like it or not, the price of fuel has a way of having a ripple effect, whether it's on food items and other commodities, even things like services. I mean, you talk about a gentleman getting a haircut, for example, lady going to the salon. What else? You have a tailor who uses generator to power their business. And I mean, you just have a plethora of businesses that need energy to keep going. And SMEs in this country, at the last count a few years ago, were in their hundreds of thousands. I mean, those that you can say, okay, have been captured formally. Let's not even talk about those that are operating off the radar and all of that. But the question is, if governments were to shut, or the authorities in this case in particular, were to shut filling stations who are selling fuel for 1,000 naira or maybe a little above that, will it solve the problem? Will that not even further diminish or close that window of access that people have to this all-important commodity? Because it won't solve the baseline problem, which is issues around supply. If you don't supply, or you supply at all at a price that is outrageous, it simply also means that it's going to be what they call in computer science garbage in, garbage out. Because the person who has bought for whatever amounts and then now has to factor in landing cost and what have you, there's no way they are going to sell at cost price. I mean, that's a no-brainer. Therefore, they have to factor in all of the cost elements. And sometimes, depending on how sincere these marketers are, the market forces, realities in the industry, you find yourself in a situation where, as a Nigerian, for no fault of yours, you're compelled to buy for as high as 1,000. So we must go back to the basics and look at the issues around cost of living. What are the factors that are driving it in such a way that every other day there's one form of hardship experience that people have to complain about? And that again makes it very controversial. The 10-day protest that ran between August 1 and August 10 that was supposed to address some of these issues, but instead we are still having to drag ourselves about the issues that protest had raised. Let's take a quick break, everyone. When I return, my guest, who happens to be a security and intelligence expert, will be here to talk to us about the new appointments just announced yesterday by the presidency, made by President Bola Tinubu. The first one is the Director General of the National Intelligence Agency, and the second is the Department of State Services, DG. Those two appointments, pivotal and very crucial to the intel and security sector. We'll get in on that after this break. Please don't go away. Thank you, everyone. We have joining us live now from Kano, northwest Nigeria, Yahuza Getso. He is an intelligence and security expert. He's joining us live via Zoom this morning. Thank you for joining us on Global Morning today.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Thank you for having me. Actually, I'm joining you from Bauchi.
Oh, you're joining from Bauchi today. That's interesting to know. But we're just going to begin this conversation by first of all asking, what exactly is the significance of these two appointments? Because this is not the first time that we have had two gentlemen appointed for these two very distinguished agencies or institutions of the government, even though this is the first time that President Bola Tinubu will be making such appointments.
Well, first of all, I will say congratulations to those two appointees. The appointment is just normal political change, because usually every government that comes normally change the head of security agencies. This is just usual, nothing more. it doesn't have any implication or any relationship with what has been happening in the country, because we have not really, we even have to commend President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for maintaining and sustaining and working with these two gentlemen, those who have worked with previous government, because it doesn't normally used to happen the way he does. So we commend him for so doing, and we are very optimistic that he must have waited to address a number of issues, political issues, administrative issues, security issues, and so on and so forth, before he is able to gradually continue to kind of make the appointments. So the appointment is nothing, the change of heads of the two security agencies of the NIA and SSS, DSS, it has nothing rather than political relation.
If that's what it is, it means that Nigerians may not be very excited about this, because in the first instance, we understand that the NIA, for example, is essentially saddled with intelligence-related mandate. Well, of course, even though the DSS also, of course, works with intelligence, has to find its way around intelligence, is very pivotal to national security or homeland security, if you like, and all of that. Let's talk about how important forward-looking leadership is for these two agencies, particularly now that Nigeria is dealing with a potpourri of security problems, whether it's banditry, insurgency, kidnapping, armed robbery, assassinations, and what have you.
You know, one thing I want you and Nigerians to understand is that there are a couple of things that we need to quickly look inward. One of which, one, we need to look at the reality on ground. There is no state crime that is being conducted without the state knowing who is really the criminal, where is the criminal, who have the link to the criminal, and who is supporting the criminal either directly or indirectly. That is one. Two, it is very clear to me and to everybody and to every professional that changing the new heads have no any implication or any direct implication. It may have some indirect implications, but it has no any direct implication, considering the fact that those head of security agencies are just to provide professional technical advice, professional technical guidance, and of course conduct a number of operations. Despite the fact that NIA is saddled with intelligence, the number three things that I want Nigerians to understand is that these agencies, as far as they work individually, there will never be a result. So number four, it is expected for all of them to work assiduously and to work in partnership through collective partnership, collaboration, as well as engaging one another, sharing vision, sharing feedback between one another. That is how they will be able to succeed. Well, maybe probably President Bola Ahmed Tinubu felt he also need to have some new guys who will help him in implementing certain policies which he may not be comfortable to continue with Bichi, as well as Ahmed Rufai of NIA, even though Ahmed Rufai tendered the resignation himself. 24 hours later, Bichi was ousted out, and the new appointee was brought in. So in reality, we can say that the appointment have very significance in terms of pushing the policy, in terms of implementing the policy, in terms of government operational strategy, in terms of the new ideology probably government want to introduce, in terms of probably some of other engagement or some other observations being made by the president or being made by the Federal National Security Council, those that meet some couple of weeks. So that may also have a kind of implication or relationship to why they are being changed. Probably the National Security Council may likely have advised the president, and the president might have been studying the situation before, later in a couple of weeks, being able to execute the advice or the guidance or so. And it may have kind of maybe a code due to certain reasons and probably maybe it comes just a kind of may not really have be an advice from the National Security Council, but I am very confident and convinced that National Security Council agenda might have this as a topic, probably, and probably the retirement or resignation, personal resignation by Rufai from NIA, National Intelligence Agency, might have been the reason why the president decided to reappoint someone as a replacement for Bichi.
It's interesting because you said one of the issues, like you highlighted in your narrative, is that these security outfits work individually. I mean, they work in isolation. In a country where you have the National Security Advisor, the NSA, for example, you have the Chief of Defense Staff, you have the Minister of Defense. The question then arises, who exactly is in charge overall of the defense architecture of Nigeria?
Well, to make it very clear, Minister of Defense is supposed to be answerable to the President, not to the National Security Advisor. The Chief of Defense Staff is a technocrat and is providing technical guidance, technical operations, technical policy guidance, policy implementation, as well as operational activities and working in synergy in relation with other security heads of police and other intelligence that matters. And they have a specific roles and engagement, and they have specific objective and expectations of what the president and the states, as well as the government, is expected for them to work. Like the Chief of Defense Staff, you know, the military are expected to look at the territorial integrity, while most of other agencies are expected to have the control or to take the responsibility of the internal security and alike. But none of them can operate or can work alone. They all have to work in synergy. They all have to work in partnership. They all have to have exchange of information. They all have to have a feedback mechanism where they will be exchanging information and providing feedback between one and another. So the National Security Advisor is to advise the process of policy process, is to oversee the affairs of all the security activities, all the security heads, inclusive of the Minister of Defense itself. But the Minister of Defense is never supposed to be answerable to the National Security Advisor. So sometimes I wonder when I hear that a National Security Advisor is summoning the Minister of Defense for a meeting. The Minister of Defense is not supposed to be answered by the architecture of the security in the country. Is not supposed to be answerable to the National Security Advisor. It's an independent person that's supposed to be reporting directly, as also the National Security Advisor is reporting directly to the President. And at the same time, the the National Intelligence Agency is a kind of exigence and extending its operations. Not only is overseeing the intelligence both internally and externally, looking at the bilateral, multilateral, and as well as other issues of implication of political affairs, implication of international politics, implication of all the affairs of the country as far as inclusive of all operations of all the ministries. You know, all the ministries in the country relate directly or indirectly for one reason or another with either on bilateral basis or on multilateral basis. And there are a number of also relations that President need to be advised on how to look at the security implication and the challenges, and also share the intelligence backing and intelligence feedback, and look at also the intelligence background, intelligence information, as well as extraction of some of the technical know-how and capacity assessment, monitoring, evaluation of all the issues and its security implication. So more or less, the National Intelligence Agency play more of a vital role as extended to both bilateral and multilateral and regional cooperations to do with the intelligence and security, as well as operations, as well as management of armament, and so on and so forth. Whereas the National Security Advisor oversee, monitor, and provide operational and policy, most of policy guidelines, policy guidance, as well as supervise all the technocrats, both the DSS, the police, the army, the military, the army, the air force, the navy, as well as others, to provide operational guidelines and policy implementation, and to ensure that the policy of the government, the policy of the president is being implemented, and at the same time enforce certain things by giving instructions or providing policy instructions on behalf of the president to the security heads to ensure compliance.
You made an allusion a while ago to the theory, I should call it maybe, to the fact that when there are crimes of national proportion, like you have in Nigeria with insurgency and banditry and kidnapping, for example, then the government knows, the government is aware of those behind it. Are you saying in this immediate case of Nigeria in contemporary times, the president and the intel, military and defense communities know those who are behind all of these crimes we're seeing in society?
This is very absolute. That is very correct. There is nobody that can commit crime for states. I don't mean, when I say state, I don't mean Kogi, Kebbi, Sokoto, Zamfara, Katsina, Ebonyi, Plateau, Lagos. No, I'm talking as the state as Nigeria. Nobody can commit state offense more than 48 hours without government knowing who is the person and where he is. And I want to tell you that Nigerian government have every capacity, have every ability, have every technical capacity, theoretical, operational capacity to deal with internal security and even the bilateral security that is bedeviling the country. Only that for some reasons that I may not discuss it more, I may not discuss it in details on the media, but those who are listening to me right now, especially those in the affairs managing the security operations, managing the policy issues to do with the security, managing the intelligence, those head of operations, head of security agencies at the state, local government and national level, they knew my argument is correct. They knew what I'm saying is correct. They knew what I'm saying, I have facts, and they knew what I'm saying is actually the situation. But maybe there are so many other reasons which I may not discuss on the media, which are really the reasons why we are unable to manage and tackle the issues of insecurity that we have in the country. But absolutely, to clear the mindset of all Nigerians, I want to reaffirm my position that nobody is committing the crime against the state without the state having the capacity, the ability, the know-how of who is the person, where is the person, how can the person be arrested, apprehended, be managed, be dealt with. That can never happen. And Nigeria has all these capacities, Nigeria has all these qualities, and Nigerian security personnel, Nigerian security agents, Nigerian intelligence agents, Nigerian operational security, as well as all other personnel that are managing the security, either they are in uniform or they are not in uniform, or either they are military or they are paramilitary. They know what I'm talking, and they know, and they know I know, and I am repeating myself, and I want Nigerians to know this very clear, that nobody have the capacity, nobody have the ability, nobody have the operational or whether technical or whether type of armament or whatever capacity you may think that is above the capacity of the state of Nigeria as far as the operation is concerned. There are many other reasons that may not be discussed on media that may be apprehending. It has to kind of be the reasons, probably the government inability to deal with the situation decisively. It may be issues related to corruption. It may be inability of the government to always conduct SWOT analysis. That is to see the strengths, the weakness, the opportunities, and the threats. And probably the government inability to utilize the advices, the guidance, and the feedback it is getting from the downward to upward. That is the bottom-top approach, which I'm sure that every local government in Nigeria, 773 local governments, are conducting what is being called monthly review meeting. And this has been taking place since independence, since even during the military, the colonial administration, and up till now, even this month, I'm sure some local government have started, and that's where intelligence, that's where information is coming up to the state level, to the regional level, and to the national level, and every day, president is getting a feedback. Every day, governors are getting feedback. Every day, head of security agencies at the state and national level, regional level, geographical level, geopolitical regions are getting feedback on this. And we know who are the criminals. We know where they are. We know who they are. I mean, the state know who these guys are, and they know the state know where they are. And maybe for a reason which I may not explain on the media, but some of those 5 items that I have mentioned, the corruption, the inability to manage monitoring data, the inability to manage monitoring information feedback that is coming on daily basis or on hourly basis, probably inability to utilize the intelligence, probably inability to manage to deal with those who are found wanting, especially those who have been apprehending. You know, there were a number of apprehension of individuals and not only individuals and groups that were found importing arms or trading or transporting arms or transacting arms or probably moving arms from one place to another, and you never get feedback. Probably because of the corruption in the judiciary, probably because of the corruption that we are unable to manage, that we have dived in. Probably there are many other questions and there are many other explanations which I may not discuss on the media.
We have had these arguments for and against. I mean, should we go kinetic? Should we go non-kinetic? Kinetic? Does Nigeria use, make the most of intelligence? Do we even gather intelligence? What do we do with intelligence? Has the way we deploy intelligence in this country made a difference, and so on and so forth? Help us make sense of all of these issues.
Well, you know, in any situation, there are situations that it is only kinetic situation, kinetic operation or kinetic implementation that is better in managing certain situations. Most especially, you know, when you send military for operations, you don't really, in most cases, more than 90%, you don't expect them to use non-kinetic. You expect them to use more of kinetic, because anything exposing the military into the internal security is because of the threats, is because of the level of threats, is because of the level of inability of those who are expected to manage the internal security to manage it well. If they have been doing their work very well, the military could have been in the barrack preparing and providing territorial integrity, territorial protection, geographical protection, and providing technical monitoring support and intelligence and so on and so forth. As you said, we have been monitoring, we have been generating intelligence, we are generating intelligence. And like I said, I am repeating myself, that Nigerian security personnel have the capacity, Nigerian security personnel have the ability, Nigerian security personnel have the skills, Nigerian security personnel have the insight, and Nigerian security personnel have the technical know-how. Nigerian security personnel have every ability to deal with every situation you think we have. Remember, Nigerian security personnel were in Rwanda, were in Burundi, were in many other parts of the world, and they have done wonders. And I want to tell you that it doesn't mean that because it is now civilians that are ruling the country. Those military that you know, they are still have the capacity, they have the quality, they have the ability, they can do much more than you think. The DSS you have, the police you have, despite the fact that some people are seeing the police that they are not doing anything, they are doing very well, and they have the capacity, they have the ability, but there is problem somewhere in the policy in implementation. There are problems somewhere in managing corruptions. There are problems somewhere in managing exigencies. There are problems somewhere in dealing with issues of reward and punishment. There are problems somewhere in managing the judicial issues. There are problems somewhere in dealing with situations to serve as a deterrence for others. There are problems somewhere in decision making. There are problems somewhere in kind of punishing those who are found wanting. And there are problems somewhere in managing the local, regional, geographical, political, administrative, and managerial interests. These conflicts must be managed well if we really want to move an inch. Otherwise, we will continue to move within a cycle, and the security challenges will continue to kind of deal with us. And even the public, its own responsibility, because the public have not been helping matters too. In many instances, public have not been providing the right feedback, the right information, because we know who are these guys, and we have not been holding people accountable for their responsibility. We have been assigning responsibilities to many of the security heads, the commissioners of police, the GOCs, the commanding officers, the unit commanders, the corps commanders, the operation commanders, and so on and so forth. But how well have we been holding them accountable? Have you ever had any commissioner of police that have been demoted? Look at what happened in Sokoto recently. The killing of the emir of, what do you call him, Mohammed Bawa.
Gatawa, the district head of Gatawa.
Yes, the district head of Gatawa. Look at the negligence. Look at the kind of abuse of office. Look at how all these things were mismanaged. Yeah, and you never see. I
want us to look at
we never had
else, right?
In any situation that
years ago,
all the security heads in the state supposed to be demoted.
Yes. I was just going to ask you to kindly react to something else. A few years ago, former Chief of Army Staff, Tukur Buratai, had told Nigerians, in particular, I was speaking to the National Assembly, he said Nigeria will need as much as 20 years to be able to defeat insurgency and other forms of criminality around it. What's your take on that position?
Well, actually, because of the glaring issues. One, inadequacy of the personnel. Two, mobilizing serious government. Three, managing the situation decisively, looking inwards, the issues of judicial issues, corruption issues, personnel issues, and also sensitizing the public to understand, and then the issue of our policy itself, internal policy, managerial policy, implementing the policy, reviewing the policy, and probably providing, we just have to, of course, I believe it was what Burate have said, but I also believe that in less than 60 days, if we have a serious government, if we have a responsible government, if government will really sit up to its responsibility based on constitutional responsibility, if those who are found wanting will be dealt with decisively and accordingly to serve as a deterrence, and if those who are saddled with responsibility will be held to account for their responsibility, and if we will define responsibility and authority, and if those who are given responsibility will be given direct responsibility, direct authority without interference, political interference, policy interference, and so on and so forth, operational interference, definitely in less than 60 days, I'm convinced, I'm confident we can be able to manage at least to be able to douse the tension, at least to some extent, probably by 40 or 60%.
On the final note, there's this speculation that one day you are hearing is the French authorities. The next day they say it is the U.S. Coming to, as it were, establish a base on the soil of Nigeria. What do you know, and what are your thoughts in that direction?
Well, it is usual. There is always a military as well as social and security and intelligence partnership and collaboration that has been signed at the United Nations, and that is being signed between states, that is between Nigeria and America. So Nigerian government and those who are the policy affairs, they know the reasons why, and there must be a backing to that effect. And I believe if they are inviting them because they need support internally because of incapacitated security personnel or military personnel, that's I disagree. Because I believe so much that Nigerian intelligence and Nigerian personnel and Nigerian military and Nigerian paramilitary have every capacity and every quality to manage the security challenge we have in country. So, but if they are being brought in because we wanted them or we needed them to support the security challenges in the country, I want to tell you that that is just waste of resources. And probably there is interest from those countries which they have interest internally in Nigeria and many other countries. That is the reason why they wanted to deploy their military for a number of reasons: diplomatic, political, social, administrative, and operational reasons, which I may not discuss more details to it, because I have a more closer relationship with some of those diplomatic corps than the local context. So I believe that there is a diplomatic reasons why those things are taking place.
At this point, I'd like to say a big thank you to you, Yahuza Getso, intelligence and security expert, for joining us live via Zoom from Bauchi State this morning to help shed light on this very topical issue. We say we're grateful and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you for having me, and have a pleasant day. Thank you. Bye.
Coming up next is a conversation around the 7-day warning strike that kick-started yesterday on account of a doctor who is said to have been kidnapped for upwards of 8 months now. The National Association of Resident Doctors says that this 7-day warning strike is to draw government's attention once again to these very ugly incidents and to find a lasting and a definitive solution to the problem of kidnapping, particularly as it has to do with health workers in this country. We'll have those perspectives and insights for you after this short break. To stay with us.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
Is the desk on Global Television?
Nigeria. Come join Anthony Momodu on television's most compelling and facts-finding talk live show.
We are the Palestinians. We are the Canaan, because
that this country gets it right.
Who are these bandits? It's the Dex on Global Television, where we analyze and dissect storming issues and commentaries in the world's biggest black nation, Nigeria.
Who is being held accountable for this money?
The eyes have it.
We stay and decide policies and reforms on the Dex. Tune in Mondays to Fridays, 5 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Global Television. Let's stay on the Dex.
Get a shot in, squares it, into the back.
It's time for sports' biggest moments on Global Television. The headlines, scores, breaking news, and commentaries on sporty events. Talking with the biggest players, strikers, and about the slam dunks and goals, stunning saves, near misses, and upsets. Let's talk about the greatest home runs, comebacks, knockdowns, and victories. Talk sports with the king of sports, Anthony Momodu. Weekdays, 10 a.m. Don't miss out.
Oh, that goal! Beautiful work from
Thank you for staying with us. Now, it gets really serious, and then yesterday it got indeed very serious with the strike, 7-day warning strike, I should say, that started on account of the urgent need to draw government's attention to certain disturbing developments in our country, as it has to do with a certain doctor who had been kidnapped here for no less than 8 months so far. And as it stands today, there's no, as it were, hope in sight in specific sense as to when she will be released or let off and what the conditions will be. So doctors, the National Association of Resident Doctors in this particular case, decided to call for a 7-day nationwide strike. As of dinner time yesterday, we realized that several teaching hospitals and federal medical centers had already started joining this same industrial action. While on the one hand, we won't take away the fact that there's no association or sector or industry that would deal lightly with this kind of incidents. Nigerians are also, as naturally expected, very, very concerned about the impact this will have on a health system that is already in a very bad place. Some people say dilapidated. Someone even said on one of our programs that it's broken. But whatever that means, the point is that we can make a bad situation worse, but then we are already here now. I'm joined by Dr. Abbas Ajayi. He's a former chairman, I should say, of the National Association of Resident Doctors, ABTH, that's in Zaria, Kaduna State. But as of today, he is the caucus leader, North Central of the NARD, that is the National Association of Resident Doctors. I'd like to say a big thank you to you for showing up short notice, right? You know, I was talking with my colleague, Joe Mai, this morning, because we normally host the program together, and I said we are used to seeing doctors go on strike where it has to do with salary increase, backlog of salaries, and what have you. But this one is different, and the human angle to it is something we can't pretend about. So talk to us about all of this.
Well, thank you very much. So to be honest with you, this year we had planned amongst the resident doctors in the country that we would do our best possible to avoid any strike action. And if you'd noticed, we've been a bit under the radar. We've not heard a voice throughout the year.
You've been more in the hospitals?
Yes, more in the hospitals, doing a lot of dialoguing and on-the-ground work to ensure that everything that accrues to us is sorted out without having to go on strike action. But unfortunately, on the 27th of December, in the National Eye Center, Kaduna, a colleague was abducted within the hospital premises with her husband and a nephew within the hospital premises. To be honest, we've done our best possible. We've gone through all the steps and processes. We've written all letters. We've attended all meetings, security briefs, and all that is necessary to ensure this woman's release, including all forms of negotiation. You expect me not to say everything, but all forms of negotiation, everything expected to be done. And despite this, she's still in captivity. And it's not just that. In the last 3 to 4 months, we've noticed a steady rise in the amount of health workers, particularly medical doctors, kidnapped. We've had a professor who was kidnapped last year. Till today, we don't know what exactly is happening with her. I was a professor of neurology, Calabar. Recently, we had a radiologist kidnapped in FTH Lokoja. We had a doctor that was kidnapped in Anambra, was released 72 hours after he was kidnapped. 20 medical students plus a medical doctor was kidnapped en route around Benue, yes, were released some days ago. The point is, we keep getting this targeted, it's obviously now targeted. We keep getting these targeted attacks, and we keep writing, we keep complaining, and nothing has been happening tangibly. And we've not seen any significant beefing up of security around the hospitals. We've not seen beefing up of security around quarters where people are supposed to be residing. Now, there's no safety. Majority of medical doctors have left the country, and more are going to leave. This is a cry for help. We are not going on strike because we want to go on strike. We really don't want to go on strike. We want to be at work. We want to serve the country, but we cannot continue like this. We need this. We need Dr. Popola to be released. We need evidence of government action safeguarding the lives and properties of medical doctors in the country and every other member of the populace.
I'm just curious. I'm also suspecting off the top of my head that a good number of our viewers this morning watching the program are probably wondering, has there been any proof of life element in this regard? Because somebody's wondering, 8 whole months, you've been having dialogues and doing everything else in between that is necessary. How are we sure this person is still safe and sound wherever she is?
Yeah, luckily, there was, at least on Sunday, There was a call put to her.
Okay.
People who, loved ones and friends who have met her, and then, of course, there's proof of life. We spoke to her, and she was alive.
Let's talk about law enforcement in this case, because I can only imagine that there must have been a series of meetings with law enforcement. I mean, whether it's police or DSS, I mean, military, and what have you. As you sit here now, being an executive of the NARG and someone whose colleague has been held for this long, quite frankly, realistically speaking, what more do you think government and law enforcement should do in this case?
Thank you very much. We have written letters to them. To be honest, we've had meetings. We believe they can do more. We've had course to interact with people in government. We've had course to interact, to write to certain people who initially, up to today, have refused to see us. So, and it's not enough for us to write to you about a security situation happening in your backyard, and then you would refuse to interact with us. And then sometimes when we have meetings with certain people, it's us giving them information. People who expect to have information, but it's us giving them information. It means these people, some of them are not on their toes. Probably there's no adequate cohesion and interaction. I won't say more than this because I don't want to.
Issues are sensitive.
Yes,
but I'm again
so sensitive information.
Right. I'm again. Just curious about this whole thing. You said she was kidnapped alongside her husband, and then her nephew. Are they still being held with her?
So what's happening now is that the husband was released in March after some negotiations and payments of hefty sums.
That was after 3 months or so?
Yes. Payments of significantly hefty sums. And then now the man was released, went home. Unfortunately, she herself is still held in detention despite payment of more hefty sums for her own release.
So her nephew too got released?
No, still with her.
Still with her there.
And unfortunately, young man has an ophthalmological problem, has eye problem. Is being held in shackles, has a festering injury on his limb, losing his sight as the day goes by. And this doctor, she's been held in very inhumane conditions. Last time we had an audio from her was that she is in such a state where she has a period, but she can't even have proper sanitary conditions. A medical doctor who is used to being under sanitary condition, being under this kind of inhumane condition, being fed once in 3 days.
Well, this is sending goosebumps, no doubt about that. But you said a while ago that there is need to beef up security around hospitals and all that. But in reality, what we have is, I wouldn't want to call it a shortfall because from the statistics we have, it's far worse than that. We probably don't have enough policemen to go around, for example. That means that there's a bigger problem beyond this immediate one we're discussing now on our hands. Then let's talk about the health sector as it is. What role should the Federal Ministry of Health and states' ministries of health be playing in this regard as well?
To be honest with you, I give it to the ministry. After our cry for help, the ministry has written on several occasions, both formally and informally, to the required bodies. I'm aware of letters to the Inspector General of Police and to the National Security Advisor. And a lot of communication and back and forth has held. Our point, we don't have a grouse with the Ministry of Health. We have a grouse with, well, it's not really a grouse, but we need the security apparatus of the country to come to our aid and ensure her release. We know that the security apparatus can do this. We are aware that they are aware of whatever is happening with her. They should go ahead and make sure that she's released.
From what you know, being an insider in this case, what do you suspect could be the major obstacle?
I believe there's an element of fracas within the camp of
the kidnappers.
Yes, and a lot of issues that's amounting to things that are not are supposed to belong to someone being taken by another person, and a lot of things.
Maybe sheriff formula related
exactly.
issues.
Now they are now demanding more, which of course the family is exhausted, and we can't do more than what we've done. And now we need the government to come in and do what is needful.
This is just a 7-day warning strike. I'm sure it will cycle out by Sunday, sundown or something. When all of these wraps up, what more steps will the NARD take?
To be honest with you, we've seen some. We've been having meetings. We've not rested on our hours. We've been having meetings from yesterday to today, on both our side and both the government side, and we are hopeful something will happen. But if nothing happens before then, we cannot guarantee industrial harmony.
You know, before this strike, I mean, the strike kicked in yesterday morning. This last weekend, I heard people talk about babies in incubation, people who had been scheduled for very critical surgeries, those who were even already in the middle of very critical treatments and what have you. I mean, it's like being between the rock and a hard place, as they say. How difficult is it for doctors like yourself to make these decisions?
As I said earlier when I started, when I opened my discussion, I said that it's quite painful because personally I'm not one that is interested in strike actions. I don't like strike actions because I feel it's inimical to the progress of the country. But push came to shove. And I want to say that, I want to tell the nation that we Nigerians, we love our people. We do not want to go on strike. We Nigerian resident doctors, we don't love strikes. And we will do our best possible to ensure that this strike action is called off as soon as possible. We are aware that we have a lot of people scheduled for critical surgeries, and the consultants are still in the hospital. We have our house officers still in the hospital. It's just the middle grade, which is actually the largest segment of the health system that is not on ground. Emergency procedures will definitely go on. But we are aware that this may cause some backlog, especially particularly in elective and clinic and all that. We will do our best possible. We've always been the workhorse of the hospital. When we come back, I'm sure we will compensate with all this.
But by then the damage would have been done.
Yeah, we are aware, but I'm sure emergencies will still go on in the hospitals. There's still senior grade staff on ground, and our house officers are on ground. We will ensure and do our best possible that this strike is called off as soon as possible. We do not love being on strike, but this, as you will agree with me, is a significant issue that needs to be nipped in the bud.
All right, let's take a quick break now, everyone. It's quite a pathetic situation, with a very strong human angle to it, and it's something everyone watching right now can readily relate with, because it's not just about Dr. Popola, it's also about other doctors, it's also about Nigerians, and of course, it's indeed about human beings everywhere in the world. Let's take a quick break. When we return, the final lap of this conversation will be brought to you. Do stay with us. I would like to say, Dr. Ajayi, that we need to maybe look beyond our nose in the manner of speaking. I mean, beyond the immediate case of Dr. Popola, right? Some people have said doctors, health workers indeed, need to have life cover, like life insurance for them, amongst other measures. What's your opinion in that regard?
Oh, most definitely. The last, say, 5 years that I've been active in NAD, I have had course to have attended more than 20 meetings, and this issue has been a top burner for us. We have had course, some of the parts of the reasons why we went on strike some 3-4 years ago was because of the need for group life insurance for medical doctors. particularly resident doctors, because at some point our time within the health sector is tenured, because we are seen as sort of not permanent or permanent staff, whatever it is. But at the time we were moved to the IPPIS platform, there was a lot of issues concerning setting up group life insurance and all that. So it was not until recently when the modalities of this was eventually sorted out. But this is still not, we are still not at El Dorado. We are still not exactly where we want to be on that.
Right.
So the association is finding a way to interact with insurance companies to find a way at our level to also get group life insurance, life insurance for our members. Because to be honest with you, it's a dangerous job. Right. In the sense that it's not as if, of course, we're not like the military or the police that might get shot and all that, but we're exposed to dangerous diseases. I think during the COVID pandemic, personally, as an individual, I had COVID about 3 or 4 times. Yes. And of course, some of our colleagues have had serious infectious diseases contacted on the job, like some of them getting pain break, and then going on to have retroviral disease. Because of interaction with patients, not because they went out to do all the wrong things, but patient interaction. So it's not a very safe system to be in. Now, coupled with all that, then you now get to have getting kidnapped, and then risk of death and all that. So it's not very safe. So these are some of the things at our level we are putting in place. Yes.
A while ago, you alluded to the fact that this looks, it's pretty much a targeted attack and things like that. What do you suspect, as an individual, you're not speaking on behalf of the NARJ now, could be the basis for such targeting?
Well, we think, or personally, I think it's probably because maybe now there's a significant economic issues in the country, so people believe that
doctors are money bags.
Doctors are money bags. Unfortunately, we are always on the news fighting for money, meaning we don't even have the money. The rich guys are not; they don't come out screaming about money. So we're not wealthy as people see us as. We might be getting some level of living wage that will satisfy our requirements till the end of the month, but that doesn't mean we are rich. Nigerian doctors are not rich.
Obviously, that gives rise to the Jack Bass syndrome, I'm sure. Exactly. That's not our focus for today. But there are people who also say that there's a lot of politicking, so much of it going on within the ranks and file of the NARD, that could have also given rise to these kidnapping, pockets of it that we hear about across the country. Do you share those sentiments?
I don't know what politicking means, but I don't think any of the issue within the ranks of ARD will predispose us to having any form of kidnapping. I believe the targeting is not because of issues within us. I don't think it has anything related to that, because we don't have any. We're just medical resident doctors. I don't think anybody has any strength or wing to do that kind of thing. Plus, the people who are being targeted or who have been kidnapped so far don't have anything related to any political relationship within NAD. Majority of them are people who just go to work and come back home. Medical students who have nothing related to political activities within NAD. And none of those has anything to do with NAD. I think majority of what's happening here is just people targeting people in their community that they think will fetch them some.
Incidentally, today is the second day of the 7-day warning strike. What has the response been like so far, and what are the expectations of your members, especially the executives?
Yeah, so the good thing is that first response from the government has been a bit swift. I think we had a meeting yesterday with the Minister of State for Health, Mr. Dr. Tunji Alausa, and in presence with the Director of Hospital Services and the Permanent Secretary were all in attendance, and a lot of directors in the ministry were in attendance. And we've gotten some good commitments that they will do their best to ensure that they interact with the security apparatus to ensure our release. But that's not what we want. We've gotten this much assurance.
Even before now?
Yes, we've met people from different parts, from different parts of government. And we've been assured that interactions will be done, should be released and all that. We want palpable action. We want to hear she's been released because everything that we need to do at our level has been done. Why is she still in captivity? We want the security apparatus of government to go and ensure that this woman comes back home safe because we know she's alive. So they should find a way to bring her back.
Okay, a way there has to be, because this strike has to count for something, ultimately, especially given the fact that as it stands right now, we have 2 lives at stake here, which is very important. Doc, thank you for coming on the program. We do appreciate it. I'll be speaking with Dr. Ajayi Abbas. He's the caucus leader of the NARD, that is the National Association of Resident Doctors, Northwest Zone here in Nigeria. We'll be talking about the abduction, 8 months counting, of a colleague, Dr. Ganiat Popola, and that's not actually something that people in their right minds want to go to bed with. But then the doctor's family has had to do that for 8 months, and as of today, the struggle to bring her out is still on, and we hope by the time this warning strike cycles out, the doctors and indeed the family of this lady and her nephew will find cause to celebrate. Let's take a quick break, everyone. When we return, it will be the Victory Lap. Juma and I will be back here to close the program for you. Do stay with us.
Time check. It's midday. Then it's Midday Discourse. Midday Discourse is a program that covers trending local and international news, current issues, and human-related topics. Join Samuel Odi weekdays 1 p.m. on Global Television. The discussion starts here. In an ever-busy world, the increasing challenge of keeping track of health matters can be extremely demanding. Follow the latest health tips and trends on Health Guide on Global Television on Tuesday at 3 p.m. Health Guide on Global Television. Put your health first.
But by your name, you say global. So global is a big coverage. So you are taking a big name, but you are starting from from scratch. So that big name, by the grace of Almighty Allah, you achieve that. You will appreciate your activities, your reportage, and everything you are doing. Do it with the fear of Almighty God. Step by step, you'll be growing very, very globally. Get your things right and then report rightly. And then inshallah, sky will be your remaining.
For an insightful idea that takes the center stage and the conversation that gets beyond the headlines, to explore the lasting impact of political decisions, Big Talk got you covered. From policy debates to geopolitical insights, from thought-provoking discussions to actionable insight.
What is the real responsibility of government?
Big Talk delves deep into the heart of the matter. Join us weekdays on Global Televisions from 6:30 p.m. for a reverting journey into the heart of politics, where we dissect issues shaping our society.
Is that
Let's begin to wind down everyone. Personally, I'm still trying to recover, Juma.
Very emotional.
Yes, from that discussion
Very
I just had with Dr. Ajayi Abbas, all right? Because, you know, as they say, it may not be somebody you're closely related with, but then this is someone who plays a very pivotal role in the health sector, has a family, you know, has colleagues who care about her, and they have in their numbers now. Said, look, we are towing one path, like my mom would say, we're dragging one rope, right? And we're doing this for you just to, I mean, 8 months is a long time.
It is a long time.
All right. Imagine how her parents, her loved ones go to bed every night for this long period, and to even think that there's no guarantee as of today that, okay, by the end of this Tuesday, she's going to be back home.
Yeah. It's just an unfortunate incident. I watched, I listened. It was very emotional for me. Thank God I wasn't, you know, but I just sat back and I watched and I listened to her colleague, and it's just unfortunate that this sort of thing can happen. But it shows unison in the part of the doctors that are going on strike for one cause. They want their colleagues to be freed. They want their colleagues to be out, you know. It's just unfortunate that this sort of issue can occur, and we just hope that the federal government swings into action. This is a very serious matter, and we know we need doctors. They're a very important necessity.
It goes without saying.
It goes without saying. It's just unfortunate, but I just hope the needful is done as soon as possible. It's very emotional. And to see that they're not going on strike because of their own well-being. It's not for increment of salary. It's not for, you know, good infrastructure, good being recognized and giving that that recognition in which they need in their part of the sector and what they do for humans, like individuals, you and I, just for one goal, just free out, let our colleague be free. And
as simple as that.
That's all we want. It shows unison, it shows love in that particular profession. It shows that they work in one accord. Kudos to all the doctors. We love you, we know what you're doing, and we just hope that your colleague will be freed as soon as possible. 8 months is a long time. We don't want to imagine what she's going through. I'm sure all the individuals, the SEC, which the bandits,
the abductors
who have held her into captivity. I'm sure right now she's just treating their wounds. Some of them that are injured, some of them that are this. I'm sure they'll make her do some things like, you know, treating and all of that.
Because of our profession.
Of course, of course. It's a handy profession at that. It's just unfortunate. It's very emotional.
You know, Dr. Abbas just took out time to mention a few other colleagues who had been kidnapped, whether it's Calabar, this other part of the country, that other part of the country, and then, of course, he highlighted the other 20 medical students and another doctor kidnapped to come attend an event in Benue State at the time. But at least we can find some, we can heave some sigh of relief, knowing that that issue has now been settled.
Resolved,
they got rescued and all of that. But you see, those are just to mention a few of these issues. And one of the other serious concerns I discussed with him was the idea or the call now for life assurance for medical doctors and indeed health workers as a whole. You may say that will not stop kidnappers, but we must begin to find practical solutions, no matter how small, no matter the term, whether it's short, medium, or long. But we must begin to find solutions. We must begin to find ways to alleviate the sufferings, the unnecessary, undue sufferings of people who are going about their legitimate business and working for their community, making the country a better place and just making citizens proud.
Yeah, really, there should be that assurance when it comes to life insurance, very important. When it comes to these medical practitioners, of course, you know, the endangerment that comes with their job profession is not easy, both home and abroad. There was this, you know, my younger brother is a medical doctor abroad also, and then he gave me an incident that happened in his own hospital, that they were there and they brought in an ex-con who was arrested by the police, and then his gang members came and started shooting sporadically in the hospital. Thank God he wasn't there. So this sort of things happens to doctors like all the time, criminals and all of that. But the thing is that assurance, that's life insurance for them. It's very, very important. It's key. All other professions are also of importance, like, of course, journalism, broadcasting, and all of that. But, you know, these...
Which also has its own level of exposure and vulnerability.
Exactly, it does. But, you know, the doctors, they save lives. It's very important that we understand.
So in a fun analysis, we still go back to them.
We still go back to them no matter what. When it comes to as small as a cough, we still go back to them. So it's very important we give accolade to them. It's very important that we understand that life insurance for all of these doctors is key, giving them that assurance that, hey, we understand what you do, we understand your job, what it entails, and all of that. So it's very important that we know this. I think when we know this, we know we have peace.
You know, in the voice of former U.S. President Barack Obama, we need to say to them every day, we see you.
We see you. We see you.
Just a reminder of viewers, too, that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365.
Yes, we are.
Star Times, channel 276, and you can catch us on Nightcomsat, free to air as well. We'll be sharing those parameters with you shortly, so you're guided in terms of how you set up that platform and continue to watch and enjoy our content across platforms.
Exactly. So it shows that there are no excuses when it comes to watching Global Television. You know, wherever you are, whatever parameter, if it's free to air, like you mentioned, Nightcomsat, DSTV, and of course, Star Times, which is very important. So we're here and giving you the right information that you need. And this is where we draw the curtain on Global Morning, right?
It is.
And thank you to all our viewers who have been out there.